Okay, so I know I am pretty late to the party at this point, but I feel like I need to talk about the third season of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power. Holy crap, what a consistently great show. The season dropped a while ago. I, of course, watched it the same night that it dropped. Did not sleep at all. And I'm going to do my best to keep this video brief. I'm not even going to worry too much about it being 10 minutes or longer to soak up that sweet, sweet YouTube algorithm attention. Because I've gushed about this show so much in the past, I don't really feel like I need to anymore, because this season was no worse than the previous seasons and was in many ways better. I mean, there you go. There's your review right there, really. I will start out by saying that I mentioned in my review of the second season that the second season felt like season 2.1, whereas this would be season 2.2. Season 2 felt very much like the first half of a season, with rising action leading up to what would have preceded the climax, and yet that climax never came. But to season 3's credit, it did not feel like the second half of a season. It wasn't like one of those Voltron second half of a seasons that were nothing but climactic action. In fact, even though season 3 picks up exactly where season 2 left off, with the character Shadow Weaver standing over Adora's bed in Bright Moon, the very center of the rebellion against the Horde, a place that she should not be able to reach so easily, nothing really comes of it. She doesn't try to kill Adora. I'm not going to spoil specifically why she's there, because, I mean, if you're savvy enough, you already know, and it's super interesting either way. But it really does feel like the inciting incident of an entirely new arc of the show, which is great. It means that the writers have adapted to these shorter form seasons in a way that the Voltron writers never did. So there you go. That's a very, very good thing. And then the rest of the season had proper build-up. It even had a little bit of a detour in the middle where the characters went on kind of a separate little arc leading up to the climax, and then there was a season climax. It all felt like a self-contained season of the show. And as for that little aside, which isn't even technically really an aside because it stems directly from the first one's signal that Adora and her friends discovered last season, it's pretty freaking cool. The Best Friends Squad heads out into, I can't remember what it's called, like Death Desert or something. A desert from which no one has ever returned. And of course, there's a society of people there. It's not hard to guess. They're scoundrelly bandit types. But they head out into this desert in search of the source of this signal, which they believed to be Mara, the previous She-Ra's ship. And so through this little aside, not only do we get fantastic Catra stuff, because she of course ends up out there too, but we get to meet a new character who is really, really cool. And holy crap, did Adora like her a lot. And I don't really know how to describe how much Adora liked her or in what way, except to say that the way that Adora reacted to this woman makes the future viability of the Catradora ship more viable. But this character is super cool, and she is in a way kindred spirits with Adora, and it looks like she's going to be a recurring character now, which is fantastic. And through this little arc, Catra got her first taste of going off on her own, and we got confirmation that if Catra decided to go off on her own and break away from the Horde, Scorpia would of course be right there with her. And honestly, that would be enough. That would be enough to justify this little side quest in the middle of this very short season. It would be enough to get me to like it. But it also served to bring the lore to the forefront in this show in a way that I honestly never expected the lore to be brought into the forefront of this show. I have said in the past that the lore in this show is nice, but it's not really what holds my interest in the way that the character arcs, for example, do. That it is the King Neptune's Poseidon powder on the Krabby Patty that is She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, but for the first time ever, after watching this season, I really want to know more of the lore. I still don't really have a compulsion to theorize about the show much, but I definitely want to know more of the lore of this show and its universe. Because of course, it just so happens that the things that they learned from Mara's ship just happened to tip them off about how dangerous Hordak's current plan of opening a portal back to the rest of the universe, because remember, the planet is sequestered away from the rest of the universe, how dangerous that would be. Because when Mara sequestered the planet away, she did some tech magic or whatever to make opening a portal back extremely dangerous, because surprise, surprise, Hordak's horde is just a very small fraction of the entire thing. And not only that, but Mara may still be alive. In fact, the finale of this season makes it very apparent that she's probably still alive, and that's extremely exciting to me. I also really like what they did with Entrapta this season. Of course I did. She's the best character in the show, objectively speaking. Fight me. But her relationship with Hordak is just so super interesting to me, because she's still a good person. Like, she sits somewhere on the neutral spectrum, obviously leaning more towards the chaotic side, but she is a good person at heart. She's just one of those scientists who only really exist in fiction, let's not kid ourselves, who believes that research for research's sake is the most important thing. But this thing with the portal, once she realizes that, hey, this is super freaking dangerous and everyone everywhere could die, she starts to see things differently because she is a good person. But at the end of this season, despite coming to that realization, it does seem like she's going to stick with the Horde, because she and Hordak become very good friends. To the point that some people have read a romantic angle into their friendship. I personally don't see it, but that is how close they become very quickly. And it is through, of all things, Hordak's point of view that we actually start to learn things through him expositing things to Entrapta. We learn that Hordak does everything that he does because he's effectively the archetype of character who is the son trying to impress the father. And regardless of what else is going to happen with Hordak over the course of the rest of the show, it's very clear at this point that he's not going to be the final boss of this show. And neither is Catra, and neither is Shadow Weaver, and that's really all the villains in this show if you think about it. And I'm not going to spoil how I know that, because it was literally the very end of the season. But it makes me think that in one way or another, through this friendship with Entrapta, who has just been reminded that she is a good person, Hordak is actually going to be redeemed, which, I mean, a Hordak redemption is something that I've kind of expected that this show was going for since the very first season. Like, how crazy is that? It was a shot-in-the-dark prediction based on some vibes I was getting from the character, and it looks like it might be true. Like, that's how good this show is at setting up its characters and giving you an immediate feel for who they are as people. Of course, though, on the topic of characters, everything comes back to Catra, and specifically Catra and Adora. The conflict of this season, stopping that portal from being opened, brings Catra and Adora together in another clash. And if I were to point out one potential misstep of the characterization in this show so far, it would be the fact that Catra seems to repeat the same arc over and over again. Tensions between her and Adora build up to the point that Catra decides she's done with Adora. She's gonna kill her the next time she sees her. And yet, when they see each other again, everything repeats. And I was honestly kind of annoyed about it until I really thought about how the show's been handling this. Put simply, Catra is a victim of severe emotional abuse, if not both emotional and physical abuse, considering the kinds of harsh training that she was forced to go through with the Horde. And now Adora has also very clearly been emotionally abused in different ways, but I think Catra got the worst of it. And so each time Catra repeats that arc, it's her unpeeling another layer of her abuse, getting this close to actually casting that peel aside, and then instead handing it to Adora, blaming it all on Adora for leaving her behind to that abuse. But because at the end of the day she knows that it's not actually Adora's fault, she ends up coming back to Adora and hoping all over again that Adora will come back to her. And in fact, that desire of hers to have Adora back is more blatant than ever this season. I'm actually getting a little choked up about it. Because, I mean, we're never explicitly told it, but it seems very much that Catra actually altered reality to try to bring Adora back to her. You'll understand what I'm talking about when you watch the finale of this season, if you haven't already. But regardless of the reason for the repetitive arc, it has been kind of repetitive. But I'm pretty sure at this point that we're finally moving forward. Because Catra really seemed to break down this time. And this time, Adora seemed to settle on not pulling her punches anymore just because Catra's on the other side. So one way or another, I definitely feel like their conflict is coming to a head. Catra is also not a bad person. She's only the way that she is. She's only as stubborn as she is because she's been abused. And I don't want her to remain a villain because she was an abuse victim. I want her to be redeemed. I want her to be redeemed, as that would be a way of showing that she is overcoming that abuse. It just seems like a really shitty message to send to the viewers of this show, that you can't escape from the consequences of the abuse that has been put upon you. So I really freaking want Catra to get redeemed already. It's bugging me, but that's a me thing. That's not a problem with the show itself. This has been a super disjointed review, I realize that. But man, this season was just really freaking good, and I hope I've conveyed that through my enthusiasm, if nothing else. If you haven't watched it, and if you haven't watched this show at all, you should definitely fix that. It's really good. Like, the first couple episodes were simultaneously a little slow and a little rushed, which is crazy but true. But the rest of it is just so freaking good. And I guarantee you're gonna like it. As per usual though, guys, if you have seen the third season of She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, let me know. Let's get a discussion going in the comment section down below or over in my Discord. Link in the description. And while I have you here, I also want to point out that I am going to be doing my very best to get a live stream going so that I can stream my first reactions to the Steven Universe movie airing. It'll be later today by the time this video goes up. But just because of the way stuff is set up in my house, I'm unsure if I'll be able to actually capture my live reaction to the live airing of the episode. If I can't, I will wait to watch the movie. I just said episode, but it's the movie, obviously. I will wait to watch the movie until I can watch it online and get my reaction via the standard setup I have around my computer and my desk. That does mean that if you guys want to watch the movie along with me, you'll have to wait as well, which is a bummer, but I will let you guys know one way or another what's going to happen before it's time for the movie to air, I promise. That way you guys can make your decision for yourselves, whether you want to go ahead and watch it without me or you want to watch it with me, depending on what happens, obviously. But I am, at the very least, going to give live streaming, the actual live airing of the movie, the old college try, so let's hope that works out. Because watching it along with you guys for the first time, as it airs, would be really super fun. Either way, though, this has been AJ22. Super hot here in this room. I really hope you guys can't tell how hot I actually am. And I will talk to you guys later.